This is wonderful. I'm so excited to have you guys here. Everybody, I am Noi. If this is your first time joining us at Phoenix Over 40, I am a certified health and life coach, and I'm super, super excited and thrilled that you've decided to join me for this Kick Your Sugar Habit live training. Who doesn't want to kick the sugar habit? I don't know. In this training, we're going to talk about what sugar does in your body, why we start and can't stop sometimes, and how to transform sugar cravings so that you can kick the sugar habit for good and get some control, self-control, because for me, that's what it's about. It's about that self-control. I know I'm a control freak, and I've been told this. I own it. I am a control freak, and I do not like to be a slave to a substance. And that for me has been sugar. That has been that substance that I've had a love-hate relationship for my entire life. So I would love to hear if you have also had that struggle in your life. Give me a thumbs up or a hell yeah right there into the comments section. Now, as we're still coming in, definitely, I'm just going to jump on into this amazing talk because we have a lot of stuff to go over. But the very first thing I want to know is, does anybody know what this is? Does anybody know what this it's a vegetable. I'm going to give you that right there. It's a vegetable. What is it? Do you know what this is? If you have any idea what you think this is, I encourage you to put into the chat section what you think this picture is. What is that a picture of? And also, in addition to that, if you don't know what it is, then give me what judgment or assumption can you make about this vegetable? What do you think about it? What is it? What kind of feelings or thoughts comes up when you look at it? I'm super duper curious. What do you think it is, and what do you think about it if you don't know what it is? So put that into the chat section, and I'm really curious to see what some people believe that this is. Hey, welcome. Hey, hi, Trisha. Good to see you. It's a pretty color. I like that it is a decent color. It's kind of sort of a dirty off-white. It's got some green on it, a little bit of pink, comes some stringy things. I'm super curious. Do you know what it is? I would love to guess if you know or think you know what it is and what other judgments or assumptions you're willing to throw out there. So put that, even if you're live by Facebook, put that in there. And even if you're watching this on replay, I'm super curious, put into the comment section what you think this is. And I will tell you here in a second, but this is a daikon. Daikon is a type of Japanese turnip. And this is a very special kind of daikon though, and one that I love for this very specific reason, because it hides a very awesome thing in the middle. And I'm going to show you right here. This is a watermelon daikon. Look how beautiful that is. Look how beautiful that. My favorite thing about a watermelon daikon is that when you cut it up, like on the outside, yeah, it's got some, some pretty colors, but for the most part, it looks kind of plain, kind of blah. I mean, you can definitely kind of tell it's a root vegetable. It's got roots coming from it. But when you open it up, it has this glorious, unexpected fluorescent pink design, and no two daikons are the same. And that's why it's just absolutely so much fun. And I would like to suggest that just like this daikon, healthy eating is also full of surprises. I'd like to suggest that healthy eating is also full of surprises. So we are conditioned often to think of health food as bland or boring or no fun or rabbit food. We've all been there, tree bark, all of that stuff. Somewhere we've developed in our culture this notion that you have to suffer to heal. Now, this is a very limiting concept of what healthy eating can be, because we're not going to be talking today about bland and boring foods here. My goal is to introduce you to a whole new gastronomic experience to tickle your taste buds with exciting new foods that are easy to prepare and outrageously good for you. Now, I am passionate about helping women kick their sugar habit because today I don't suffer when I go to family dinner. And what I mean by that is for so long, I would suffer and sit there we would be eating some pretty unhealthy food and my Auntie Nanny always brings these amazing desserts. And I would sit there and know that when I got started, I would not be able to stop. But today I get to eat all the Liliha Bakery puff pastries, all the chocolate, all the sweet treats I want without ever gaining a pound. That's right. It's true. But it wasn't always this way. Now, back it up even further. I worked for about 25 years in administrative positions in 5 different industries, always at a desk in an office. And my biggest frustration and stressor about every one of those jobs was, can you guess? The break room. It was always full of yummy, sugary treats. Whenever someone was trying to maybe unload their Halloween candy for the year, or some wholesaler may have brought donuts to sweeten his deals with the folks in our office, the existence of this area was a huge source of anxiety for me for so many years, because I felt like literally those donuts were calling my name from the break room. And I understand that a sweet treat isn't a bad thing every now and then, but it would never end up being just a sweet treat for me. It didn't matter what it was. It would start off with maybe a half or a quarter of a little donut and a full cup of coffee to try to, kill my appetite. But by the end of the day, by the time the day was done, I would have eaten at least 5. I felt like I had this little sugar demon living inside of me. And once I got started, I just simply could not stop. There's something about sweet pastries and a cup of coffee that just seems to make, the unhappiness of what I was experiencing in my career just a little bit better in that moment, right? But then it would be filled with shame and guilt after every time that I felt weak. And I began to notice in the mirror and on my body the rolls in my belly. I was gaining weight ridiculously. And since I couldn't control, I kept trying, I kept going on yo-yo diets on and off constantly. And because I came to the conclusion that I just could not control my eating, that this was just something I was going to have to deal with. And so instead, I decided I would make up for it at the gym with some really crazy workout every time it happened. So this guilt, shame, punishment cycle continued for years as I began to develop this loathing for food, loathing for the offices that I was working in, loathing for the people who would dare to tempt me by bringing these terrible treats, and loathing for myself and for my body for not having any self-control. I developed this love-hate relationship with food and my body as a result of this constant shame and self-abuse cycle that I was stuck in. And by the time I was 38, my body decided to loathe me back. I developed chronic inflammation all over my body, pain in my feet, pain in my legs and my shoulders and my back, you name it. I was in pain day in and day out. And guess what I would turn to numb the pain? You guessed it, sugar and wine, if I'm going to be honest, which ultimately becomes sugar in your body. But between the guilty pleasures that I couldn't stay away from, then all the sugary pre-workout drinks before every self-punishing workout, and then the inflammation that I would deal with afterwards and just ongoing, I just felt trapped and I felt completely hopeless. This was not my best life ever. And I knew something had to change. And that's when I discovered something that changed everything. At first I was skeptical, I admit. I was like, that approach is not going to work for me. I've tried everything. Believe me, I've tried. But then I found myself following through in a way that I never had before. Now, do you want to know what that solution was? If you want to know what that solution was, give me a thumbs up into the comments section. If you want to know what that solution was, it was able to take me from this yo-yo diet roller coaster and this hate of my body and food in general to actually being able to follow through in a way that I never could have. If that's something that you think is going to help you, I want you to drop a thumbs up into the comment section, because within the first 2 weeks, 10 pounds melted off my body. I kid you not. My skin literally felt loose. And I also felt just more positive about myself. And I would bounce energetically out of bed every morning without pain, without having to sit there doing some movement in my joints and exercises. I had more clarity in my day than I'd had in years. I really feel like I got my sexy back. I felt confident. I felt beautiful. My libido certainly bounced back with it. But most importantly, I began to love myself. I began to love the skin that I was in. No more of that negative self-talk, no more dreading family dinners and the office because I knew I wouldn't be able to control myself. I started feeling more balanced and getting a lot of compliments from others saying that I looked amazing, like I had completely transformed. And what was I doing? You know, they all wanted to know. My friends started actually noticing the difference in my habits when I would go out with them. You know, one girlfriend actually sat me down and said, you know, I don't know how you do it. I start eating and I just can't stop. You know, has anybody ever been there? Have you ever been like so frustrated that you start eating and just can't stop? And then, you know, they would comment on how I was still able to have just as much fun with them, maybe even more, because, you know, after we would spend all night dancing and going out, I'd still wake up early and go climb Cocoa Head the next morning. And my mom started to notice the changes in me at my family dinner. And you know, she asked, and she noticed how I was able to control my portion sizes and abstain from the yummy desserts that Auntie Nanny would bring. You know, she would tell me, you know, I don't know how you do it. I have to have something sweet after every meal. I just don't feel complete until I do, but you don't seem bothered by it at all. Now, does anybody else resonate with that idea that you have to have something sweet after dinner? That was a huge struggle for me. So when people started coming to me, that's when I was able to create a system called the body transformation system to teach people how to optimize their body and kick their sugar habit without giving up pleasure and sweetness, because I wasn't giving it up. I was actually just changing it. And at first it was for a group of 4 of my friends. And then pretty soon that group expanded to 9 of my friends. And then in this past year, 20 women have successfully kicked sugar and experienced a total transformation using these exact steps that I'm about to teach you today. Now, it's my goal to help you connect the dots and show you exactly how you can do this too, no matter how far off track you feel you are. Now, who is this information going to best serve? Let me tell you. You're in the right place today if you're wondering why you crave sugar at certain times of the day. You're in the right place today if you're done reinventing the wheel and you want someone just to tell you what works and what doesn't for real. And you're also in the right place if you want to discover what's keeping you stuck so that you can get unstuck and finally get this sugar and food thing handled so that you can allow your best self to shine. If this describes you at all, then you're exactly in the right place today. In fact, if this is you, it's no accident that we're together today. Because today I'm going to show you how to kick the sugar habit without giving up pleasure or sweetness so that you can actually experience a body transformation that gives you your best body, your best mood, and your best life ever. Because we can't have our best life if we're not optimizing our body. That's true. And we have a limited amount of time together, so I'm going to teach you as much as I can about our topic today. And then I promise before we finish, I will show you how to take it a step further if you want to, okay? So let me get my screen up here and share the screen. This is so exciting. Okay, so first, I want to start off with the three main challenges that me and all of my clients and most of the people that I've ever talked to have when they go into kicking their sugar habit. So challenge number one is wondering why the heck they have sugar cravings in the first place, not understanding why they have them in the first place, why those feelings or cravings feel out of control and what to do about it. This is simply needing to understand where this is coming from. Okay, so let's solve that mystery now. Okay, shall we? Let's talk about why sugar becomes a craving for us in the first place. Now, I'm super curious, why do you think sugar becomes a craving for us? Why do you think? Drop your answer in the chat section and let's see, what do you think? Why do you think that sugar becomes such sort of this uncontrollable addiction sometimes and causes these cravings where, during the middle of the day, maybe even like late afternoon or so, you all of a sudden are like, hey, I need something sweet right now. Or in the evening, after dinner, you're realizing I just, I'm not hungry, but yet I just really need to have some sugar craving, some sugar sweet right now. If drop your answer into the chat section on what you think is the reason. I'll give you a second to do that as well. I'd love to see what others' answers are. There we go. Yeah. There we go. Yes, thank you. I'm looking on the Facebook too and seeing some thumbs up. And yes, so here's the thing. Traditional nutritionists think of food in calories and grams of fat, right? They think of food as, they're just calories, it's fuel, it's just, grams of this, that, and the other. Now, as a health coach, that is one way I look at food. But the other way is something really cool, and it's a concept called the polarity of food. Now, what does this mean? The concept of polarity is pretty simple. It's based on the principle that everything has two polarities or extremes. For example, hot and cold are extremes of a pole called temperature, right? It's the same way with every apparent opposite. You've got hard, soft, noisy, quiet. Basically, when you find one thing, you'll also find the potential for its opposite. So there are two sides of the same coin, good and bad, love and fear, salty and sweet. So to look at the world through the lens of polarity is to look at it in pairs, dark and light, night and day, yin and yang, male and female, etc. Now, how does this concept apply to food? Well, first we want to consider that food is more than just simply fuel. It has energetic qualities that are beyond the science and mechanics of just calories, fat, grams, carbs, protein, and nutrient values. They have energetic qualities. For example, leafy greens grow upward, right? So they have a lifting energy. Whereas root vegetables like potatoes or squash grow deep down into the ground. So they have a grounding energy. So what does the polarity of food look like? Where does the inherent energetic quality of different foods fall on a spectrum? And how might the polarity of your food actually be creating your cravings? Let me tell you. So take a look at this slide. This is the polarity of food slide, okay? Now on the right side, you see one of the extremes of expansive bliss, okay? Foods that represent this energy are represented in, alcohol, caffeine, sugar, dairy, and to some extent fruit. The energy of this food makes you feel light and relaxed and happy and blissful. But when you eat too much bliss foods, you start to feel spacey and maybe a little forgetful, a little ADD, a little jittery sometimes. Now, on the other extreme are the contracted tension foods. These foods are contracted versus expansive. So examples of these foods are salt, eggs, and red meat. These are the kind of foods that we like to say, put meat on your bones, They make you feel grounded, focused, sometimes maybe a little aggressive or heavy. When you eat too many of these kinds of foods, you start to feel maybe a little tight. a little agitated, perhaps even a little angry. Now that's all fine and good, but how do the two extremes of the polarity of food, the expansive bliss and the contracted tension, relate to sugar cravings? Well, I'm glad you're asked. If life is a system of opposites and your body is always trying to balance itself out, what do you think happens if you're having too many contracted foods like salt or meat or eggs? What do you think your body might start craving to balance itself out? It'll crave the opposite of contracted foods. It'll crave sweet and expansive bliss foods. Now, do you find that after you have something salty, maybe like potato chips, you crave something sweet afterwards? See, that's the challenge. If we have too many contracted foods, we'll crave the expansive. If we have too many expansive foods, we'll crave the contractive. So what many people don't realize, and I didn't realize this myself either, is that we're oftentimes creating our cravings unknowingly. You can even look at activities in your life through the lens of polarity, of expansive and contractive. There are things that happen in your life that are a little more contractive. They create more tension. And then there are things in your life that are a little more expansive. They create more relaxation. Example of contractive activities are, running, working too much, partying, staying up late, stress. When you have too many contractive activities, you're going to crave more expansive foods because you want and need relaxation. Now, if you don't allow yourself to relax, then you'll likely find yourself binging on wine and chocolate and bread and desserts, because your body's begging for a break, like sleep or reading or meditation. Those are expansive activities, walking, taking a bath. But if you've been driving, like say you've been driving in awful traffic, or your toddler has a nightmare, or you had just a really stressful day at work, what are you going to crave during those times? Sweets, or wine or a martini. Expansive foods. That craving is literally your body trying to balance itself out. So when I'm working with clients to deconstruct their cravings, we look at not just the foods they're eating, but also their lifestyle. In fact, here's what happened to one of my clients. She noticed she had cravings in the evenings when everyone would be going to bed. After working with me, she realized that in those moments, after that evening struggle of wrangling the kids through the baths, that normal evening mayhem that most of us moms can identify with, she was actually in those moments when we actually slowed down and got some awareness, she was actually craving physical touch, peace, safety, and calm. So we made a plan. She asked her husband if whenever she experienced those sweet cravings, when she felt those sweet cravings happen, that she could give him a safe word. She would just shout out a safe word, and he would know that as soon as they got everything down, everything was done and they were together in bed, that he would snuggle her and he would tell her she did a good job today. And he would remind her of how much he loved her. She was able to understand that her body had been misinterpreting her need for nourishment. And, and I can say that it really helped her marriage and her husband's happiness too, just as much as her own, because she felt appreciated and he felt needed because she told him what she needed. So, this is an opportunity right now to start thinking about things a little different. Now let's look at challenge number 2, okay? So the second challenge around kicking the sugar habit is that no one wants to do it because eating sweets feels so dang good. It feels good. Why does it feel good? Let's take a quick look at what's happening in your body when you eat sugar and why we experience that awesome sugar high. Products containing lots of sugar actually don't contain a lot of fiber, fat, or protein. Now, fiber, fat, and protein slow down sugar absorption. So when those nutrients aren't present, your blood sugar shoots up really fast, like to the top of a roller coaster. It shoots up really fast to the top of a roller coaster. Now, at the top of the roller coaster, your brain is then alerted that something's going on, something has changed. Now, your brain uses about 50% of your blood sugar at any given time. So any super drastic rise or fall in your blood sugar levels causes your brain to sort of flip out and become very reactive to that change. So when your blood sugar spikes up, your brain feels that. It may feel happy in the moment because it's getting a lot of serotonin. And then your body, though, notices that there's an imbalance and that there shouldn't be this much sugar floating around my bloodstream, and starts to signal an emergency. So what does your body do? Well, your pancreas then secretes the hormone insulin to bring your sugar back down, to bring that blood sugar back into normal range. But here's the problem. We've spent a lifetime of eating a lot of high sugar processed products. Hey, I grew up in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, and that's what's popular. That was what was popular then, low fat, high sugar. But because of this, insulin now has gotten really used to doing its job a little too well. And so when insulin sets out, it doesn't just bring your blood sugar back down to normal, which would be in the middle here. It often secretes too much insulin and your blood sugar dips way down to the bottom. And that's the blood sugar crash that you feel after that sugar high. You know what I'm talking about. It's like that shaky, spaced out, kind of uncomfortable, maybe even tired. You feel like your eyes might be trying to close. That's a blood sugar crash. And when that happens, what does your body crave? When it's down there in the middle of the dumps of the crash? Exactly, more sugar. And what happens to our blood sugar then when we eat sugar again? It goes right back up to the top of that roller coaster. And so up and down, the cycle just continues up and down because your body is trying to find balance, but it doesn't know how. Has anyone ever experienced that before? How does it feel? This is one of the reasons that we start eating sugar, and we quite literally can't stop because our blood sugar is going all over the place, up and down. And it's why we crave it constantly. Even when we know we're not hungry, we might even still have stomach growling, even though we're like, I just literally ate an hour ago. Stomach growling and cravings of sugar. We're on that cycle up and down because our brain and our body is trying to find balance. So the sugar craving is your body's way of saying that it needs something specific to restore balance. It's trying to give a signal, and that's the only signal it knows, because sugar is the fastest and easiest, most convenient food to restore energy, right? When our blood sugar is in the toilet, it wants sugar to bring it back up. However, if we keep eating sugar, then we're just going to stay on that crazy craving roller coaster. And that roller coaster affects our mood. It causes weight gain. It can lead to serious disease like adult onset diabetes. So many different diseases are created because of this roller coaster, because a body cannot heal when it's in stress, which it's constantly in stress. But there's more to the story here, okay? So after the hormone insulin is set out to take out the excess sugar from your bloodstream, it has 3 places that it can take that. It can take it to your brain, your blood cells, or your muscles. Now, if you've eaten so much that all of those receptors are full because you've been eating a lot of sugar, where do you think that excess sugar goes? Where do you think? Put in the comments where you think that excess sugar goes if it can't go to those 3 places. If you said from the lips to the hips, you are correct. That excess sugar is stored in our fat cells. Now, here's yet another not so thrilling truth about that. When our body is producing insulin to bring down that sugar high, when it's injecting, the pancreas is injecting insulin into the blood, it can't produce what's called glucagon. Now, glucagon is very important, especially if you're trying to shed excess weight, because it's the hormone that takes the fat out of storage to be burned. So if you're eating sugar, not only are you probably storing some of it as fat, but you also can't release fat to be burned because that sugar blocks the glucagon production and that fat burning engine. And that is a huge bummer. So here's something else I want you to consider. These days, many health conscious people know their blood sugar levels go up and down and that sugar-induced high, but they often don't realize the emotional roller coaster ride that accompanies this. We feel happy and energetic for a while, but then suddenly, unexplainably, we find ourselves arguing with our friend over our partner, or beating ourselves up in our own mind. Our moods are all over the place. I've seen this firsthand in my nephews this whole week. My sister's been visiting, and she has a 3-year-old. And oh my goodness, the mood swings as a result of the blood sugar. It's huge. It's easy to see in babies, but we know we can feel it. We can feel it. So let's take a look then at challenge number 3. Here we go. Challenge number 3, there's blood sugar roller coaster, is the third and final challenge that I experienced myself and I noticed in my clients, is that when you're not happy in an area of your life, say your career, your relationships, your finances, your workouts, your sex life, your family, where you live, the winter weather, it's sometimes just so much easier to reach for sugar and deal with that than what's really going on. And I get that. When I was recovering from breast cancer, after every surgery, I experienced crazy cravings because my body was in pain and I was scared and I wanted to escape my reality. Sugar and alcohol became a comfort food. But the problem is our bodies can't heal in a stress state. And I was actually prolonging my own suffering and prolonging my own recovery by asking my friends to bring me McDonald's shakes and French fries, which they always did. They were wonderful friends, but I was hurting myself in the long run. Now, a craving may seem like a pain in the butt, but I would like to point out that a craving is a form of chaos. And what do I say that we need to do with chaos? If you're not sure, I have a whole series about this, and it's called Moving from Chaos to Curiosity. We get to treat it with curiosity, because here's the thing, cravings are actually a messenger trying to get our attention about an imbalance somewhere in our life. But what if cravings are actually an opportunity to actually upgrade our life and become our bravest self? How does that land for you? If it's just a messenger carrying information, we can start to look at those cravings with curiosity and be like, this is an opportunity. This means that something's off and I get to now upgrade my life. It's a new way of looking at cravings that removes the judgment and replaces it with curiosity. So let's take a look at the solutions. I know you didn't come here just to hear about all the challenges. So let's talk about the solutions, okay? So boom. First of all, in the description area, there is a link to a pretty little handout that I made for you. And there are 7 solutions to sugar cravings in this handout that I created for you. But for right now, you can just listen and take these in. Just know you don't have to write them down. They're already down there for you. And the link is right there in the description, so you can grab that. But let's look at those solutions, okay? So first of all, solution number 1, check your bevies, check your beverages. This sounds crazy, but sometimes sweet cravings are actually a sign of dehydration. Yep. So instead of reacting to the sweet craving right away, start off by pounding a glass of water and then wait 5 minutes and see if you still have that sugar craving. Also, too much caffeine does mimic a blood sugar crash. So you're high for a bit with that caffeine, you have that energy, but then you come crashing down because of the caffeine crash. And guess what your body automatically craves? Sugar, of course, because it wants energy, right? There's also a fact that one of the components of coffee actually numbs our ability to taste sweet flavors. So when our body feels the bitterness of the coffee, it tastes the bitterness of the coffee and then notices the change in our ability to taste sweet, it begins to crave sweet things as a way to try to wake itself up and try to find balance again. There's a really good reason why coffee and donuts taste so good together and they go well together, and it's because of this component in coffee. So just something to notice, kind of a fun fact there. Okay, solution number 2. Satisfy your sweet tooth with sweet vegetables, fruits, or spices, okay? So our tongue has sweet taste buds, and those sweet taste buds demand to be satisfied. So we don't want to hold out on them, because if they're not satisfied, our brain goes a little nuts, because sweet is what it associates with energy and with fuel, right? So instead, adding naturally sweet foods and spices to your diet, like squash or yams, carrots, beets, berries, figs, apples. I love bananas, mangoes, things like that. That can really help you curb that sweet craving. And then also there are certain spices like cinnamon, coriander, nutmeg, cloves, and cardamom that also help to curb sweet cravings naturally. You can just put a little bit of cinnamon on your tongue and you'll actually find that it takes away that little sweet craving. It's really quite interesting. Try it out. Get curious about it. Okay, solution number 3. Sleep. For many of us, this is easier said than done. I get that. But if you're constantly tired, then your body is looking for energy. And usually, where does it want to find that energy? And the fastest way to get it, that's sugar and caffeine. So instead, power down about an hour earlier than usual and just notice how your cravings actually disappear. If you're able to power down by shutting off electronics, maybe putting on a guided meditation if you need to, I do that sometimes, just getting yourself, turning off the television, powering down, giving yourself the ability to sleep deeper and sleep longer. Watch how those sugar cravings, like all of a sudden you'll have a lot more clarity and a lot more self-control the next day. It's crazy. I've done this experiment and I run my clients through this experiment too. It's really quite interesting. Okay, solution number 4, check your protein. Okay, now this is a fun, cool fact. Watch how much protein and what kind of protein you're eating, especially animal protein and vegetable protein. So first of all, eating too little bit of protein can lead to massive sweet cravings because that sugar is going directly into our bloodstream and protein actually slows the absorption of it, right? But also eating too much protein, especially animal protein, can also lead to sweet cravings. Crazy, right? So when I work with my clients, we find out just what that perfect sweet spot is for their protein intake and what kind of protein their body works best with, because not everybody's body's the same. And, we try to find, and I have this really cool experiment that I run them through where we try to find where that sweet spot is in terms of how much and what kind, so that they can feel satisfied and they can regulate their cravings and not feel so out of control. Okay, solution number 5, sniff out and snuff out those low fat and fat-free foods. When food manufacturers take fat out of foods, what do you think they put in? Yep. They take out the fat and they replace it with sugar. Fat makes our food taste good. And so if you take fat out of something, you have to put something in to make it taste good. So of course they put in sugar. It's cheap. It's easy to get. It's addictive. Avoid fat-free or low-fat foods whenever possible. Your body needs fat. Don't just look at everything in terms of calories. Your body needs fat too. So don't shy away from fats to help you with that absorption as well. Okay, second to the last, solution number 6, move yourself. Movement is another kind of food for your body. It releases stress. It makes us feel and look great. When we don't get enough movement, our body starts to look for other ways to blow off steam, like binging on chocolate or wine or Snickers bars or cupcakes or whatever your vice is. Our body craves movement. It was meant to move. And my struggle with working in my job was I was sitting at a desk all day long. I wasn't getting movement and I wasn't happy. And I would then go straight to the sweet snacks that were available because they were easy to get. The last solution, number 7, create new post-meal rituals. If you're a dessert after your meal person, one of the things you might love about that is just the ritual of it, just the habit of it. I know that was definitely true growing up in my family, as my mom would always serve us dessert after dinner. And I definitely connected that sweet dessert to that after dinner ritual for a very, very long time. Consider replacing that ritual with something else and thinking, what is it that particular ritual is actually trying to accomplish? Like, am I rewarding myself for eating, which was definitely the truth for, it was used as a little carrot for us to eat our dinner, because then we would get dessert, right? Is it reward I'm looking for? Is there something else that I can do that's rewarding that I could instead become a ritual? Perhaps you want to start a family game night, or if connection is what that dessert is actually representing, maybe start a family game night or go for a walk. If it's, just getting out there and feeling some movement, ask yourself what would nourish you the most in that moment. Now, again, this information is on this very attractive handout. So just click the link in the description and you can download all of this for yourself. But right now I'm going to tell you how you can turn today's immediately useful information into lasting information, because some of you are going to want to take this further and deeper. And as promised, I'd like to share with you how you can do that. Now, who here feels that they are 100% confident that they could walk away from this talk and kick sugar once and for all? If you are 100% confident that you can walk away from this talk and kick sugar for good, go ahead and raise a hand and put a hand up in the comments section and let me know, because I would like to tip my hat to you. If you've got all of this down, you're going to go ahead, take that handout, go on your merry way and implement all of these strategies for yourself with no struggle. Go ahead, let me know. Is anybody out there? I'm going to look at the Facebook too and see, does anybody raising their hand? No. Yeah. No, because we actually have left out 3 very important key ingredients that put all of this together. Now, you know me, these ingredients are the hallmark of my program. Without these 3 ingredients, we stay in the same pattern. We cannot upgrade ourself, our identity, our patterns, our behaviors. We repeat the old behaviors that keep us stuck. Some of us may do really well for a little while whenever we get some new information. We might even renew our commitment to follow through. We might take consistent action for a week or 2, and then we convince ourselves that this time, is going to be different. And then what happens? Our motivation fizzles and we fall off track. We backslide into our old habits. How many people know what to do, but don't always do it? Most of us. That's because knowing isn't enough. It's what motivates us. It's not what actually motivates us into action. We are suffering from a high fact diet these days. We have so much information available to us out there, a whole lot of theory, a whole lot of different information, but we're not putting it into practice. Why is that? Why do we do that? And I would like to suggest it's these 3 elements that we need to make sure we get long-term success. You recognize that it's the Phoenix Fire for Transformation. These are the 3 ingredients to ensure long-term success for anyone with a goal. And those 3 ingredients are a compelling vision, a strategic plan, the right system, and then the right kind of support and accountability. We've got information, guys. You don't need more information. What you do need to do is make this time different. Is you need someone to encourage your progress, someone to kick us in the butt when we start making poor choices. And since none of you are enthusiastically ready to get off the sugar roller coaster, I'd like to invite you into a very special new session that I've like to call the Kickstart session. In this 45-minute private consultation, we will look at what your cravings mean, why you start and can't stop, why you feel stuck and how to get unstuck, and then we'll help create what your plan of action is to experience a total transformation in your life. You just have to invest 45 minutes of your time. And I guarantee you'll walk away with at least one major aha about how to break out of the rut and to get yourself into action. And I want to invite you to open up to the possibility that this time really can be different, that you haven't yet tried everything, that even those of you who are relatively healthy already might even be missing out on something that could make it all better. This is an opportunity to get curious about how healthy you can be. And I'd like to bring up one of my clients. This is one of my very dear friends, Shannon. She was one of my very first clients. She self-proclaimed, had a pretty happy, healthy, food and diet. She just could not understand how to make it a little better so she can get some of that weight off, get a little more self-control over her cravings. She still struggled when she would be eating with her family with portion control and, being able to stay away from some of the sweet things. And in working together, we were able to really help her find that balance, find exactly what was right for her particular body. And she noticed that she had a gluten insensitivity. Something completely caught her off guard. She noticed inflammation whenever she would eat sugar and gluten and things like that. And so this helped her be able to really just rewire her brain and her whole understanding of her body and her nutrition. And that's what this program does. It's unique in that it focuses on not what you don't get to have, but what you get to have. And, because suffering to heal, having to focus on all the things that you don't get to have doesn't even make sense. Suffering in order to heal. When I'm working with a client, I want to inspire them to reclaim their health in a new way that's sustainable, that's natural and fun. My clients tell me that I'm part cheerleader and part tough love coach because support and accountability both. The two ingredients proven to make all the difference in the world between staying stuck and breaking out of a rut. So if you're ready for the accountability and the system and the support that's going to make this work like nothing you've ever tried before, then I invite you to a complimentary Kickstart session. And here's what you have to do now. You simply have to drop the word Kickstart into the comment section, and I will reach out to you with my scheduling link and we can get that set up. I mean, it's really fun and it's a super easy process. I just lead you through all of it. There's no homework or anything weird. You're just going to find out what your cravings mean and why you're stuck and how to get unstuck, and what your plan of action then is to experience this total body optimization, this total transformation. Now, typically I charge $150 for these sessions, but because you're here, this is my gift to you. All you have to do is comment the word Kickstart and then show up for yourself. Show up for the call. I promise, even if you're the type of person who feels like, oh my God, I can't go without chocolate or my after dinner sweet treat, I promise you're going to learn something really surprising about those habits. So go ahead and drop the comment Kickstart, and I will follow up with you within the next 24 hours, I promise. Invest 45 minutes of your time, and I guarantee you will walk away with at least one aha about why you're stuck and how to get unstuck. Okay. And I also have one more free gift for you. This is kind of exciting. If you're a recipe fanatic like I am, I will give everyone that signs up for that Kickstart session during the month of February a collection of my favorite sugar-free recipes. And I have used these desserts on my own family during family dinner, and they end up getting wowed when I tell them it has no sugar. Matter of fact, mine have no sugar, no gluten, and no dairy. And they're like, no way. I made some really yummy Thin Mints. Oh, they couldn't tell the difference. I mean, honestly, they couldn't tell the difference. It was pretty remarkable, actually. And it's no small feat to trick my family, believe me. So that's the end of this video, but before you go, leave a comment and let me know what surprised you the most about what you learned in this video. Did you have any ahas, insights, or appreciations about what you learned and about today's topics? Let me know by dropping that into the comment section. Even if you're watching this by replay, I love to read those comments, and it makes me feel really good to see how my videos are being received and whether or not this is meaningful stuff for you guys. So that is my spiel for today. Next week, we're going to talk about kicking the caffeine habit. Ooh, that might be a scary one for a lot of people, but join me next week and trust me, you're not going to want to miss it.